Hello, I'm back.
Hey, it's great to have you back, Eric. I'm so glad we got you
Uh,
in first.
yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
Of
Um,
course, I felt so guilty. Whoever comes last in these sessions just draws the short straw.
yeah, I was there earlier for the first one, but then I realized that the video doesn't work unless you leave. So
Yeah.
then that's why I think I was
Oh,
the last one on the list, but all
oh,
good.
that's so sad. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know. I know. I'm trying to get better at managing the time, but it's just so tricky. And I so hate cutting people off, and everyone's answers and questions are so illuminating. And so it's but then at the
Yeah.
end, like there's so little time left. So um I think everyone's slowly kind of trickling in here. I was just saying I've been a screener this year for the Big Apple Film Festival, which, as I've said multiple times now, was a really hard job. There were so many good films. I thought it would be easy, and it was like I'm tearing my hair out. I'm only supposed to recommend a couple, and I saw so many great ones. There's so much talent, I think, attracted to this festival. It's been amazing, and I've been leading these small group sessions this morning, and my biggest challenge has just been sticking to time because everyone's questions are so interesting, everyone's answers are so interesting from the industry panelist side. And I'm so reluctant to jump in. So I'm asking everyone, when you have a project or a career question, if you can try to describe it in a minute or two, because often multiple panelists will want to weigh in. There becomes a back and forth, and that gives everyone a little more time to share their insights. And the most helpful thing seems to be if you have a really like a big career roadblock that you want advice on, or you have a specific project and you want some feedback or advice, to keep the question specific so we can help you the most. Sometimes if we get hit with a really long bio, we're then unable to offer as much insight on the specifics of what we can help you with. And so I've been starting with kind of having all the panelists talk a little bit about who they are, what they do, their journey a little bit, and anything you guys are working on right now that you're super excited about that you can share. I know everyone's pled NDAs and I can't talk about it, but anything cool you're working on that you can share with us. I'll start with you, Danny, if you want to jump in.
Yeah, well, I'm Danny. I'm over here at AP's Scripted Department. And I've been an agent for 4 years now, originally for the Midwest, in Indiana. Yeah, I focus primarily on television. So it's a lot of mainly staffing and development. So that's staffing existing shows upcoming like development, all these mini room situations, and then development, whether it's original client ideas, pitches, specs, underlying IP, documentaries, books, graphic novels, video games, and then, also sourcing up and writing assignments at the network and producer level. So.
It's really awesome. It's so great to have you because sometimes people have had very specific TV questions. So
Yeah.
we have at least one person here who can kind of help us navigate the really changing world of TV now that it also incorporates streamers and all this other stuff. It's like a whole new world out there.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And Cameron, you want to jump in next and tell us a bit about who you are and what you're working on lately that's kind of exciting.
Yeah. Hi. Cameron. I am a writer director. And what am I working on now? Was that the, yeah.
Yeah, I like what that you're passionate about, or alternately that's driving you crazy. If you want to fetch a little bit, that's cool too. Either
Sure,
way.
I'll turn this into therapy. No, we're in soft prep on a movie I'm going to direct in January in Canada, so that's going to be great. That's going to be nice and toasty. And sold a show to Sony with this with an actor and these great producers who I've loved, Doug Robinson and Lauren Moffat over there, and I've just been so impressed with them. And everyone at Sony got fired, but luckily everything's okay with our project. I shouldn't be laughing; it's very sad. But I adapted a book for Universal called Darius the Great is Not Okay. it's a book I love, and I was very fortunate to get to adapt it. And those are the kind of main things that I can talk about right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Staying toasty. That will be on the top of the list.
Yes, I'm gonna fail at that, but I will try.
Okay, awesome. Well, great to have you here with us, Cameron. And I'll move to Hunter next. You want to talk a bit about your journey and what you're up to and anything exciting you're working on right now?
Hi, guys. My name's Hunter Cope. I'm a writer, a producer, and a performer. Kind of started out doing sketch comedy and Funny or Die videos back in the day, back when Funny or Die had just like an unlimited budget to just give people money to shoot like ridiculous comedy shorts. So that's kind of where I cut my teeth, and have spent like the last decade working mostly in television. With Nickelodeon, Disney, wrote for a couple of their shows and sold them a couple pilots. And currently I'm kind of got a bunch of stuff in various levels of development. Nothing is real till it's real, but feels good and exciting. Have a project with Point Grey, which is Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg's company that I'm excited about, that maybe we'll sell next year. And also have a show with Sony as well. And a lot of people got fired, but our exec didn't, so that was good news. And that's with Sony and Roku, and so that's sort of a modern day Beverly Hillbillies with like a little Eastbound and Down flair. So that's something I'm excited about. We'll start writing in the new year, and I'm happy to be here and happy to kind of get to offer any intel or assistance if possible.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for that, Hunter. That's really cool. It's awesome. You also have a background as a performer. We had some people in the last session who were also performers and asking some questions about that. I wish they were here now, but maybe we'll have some this session because that's such an interesting kind of blend of skills and career paths. And Mark, you want to tell us a bit about what you're up to and your journey and anything you can share with us?
Sure. I work over at 3 Arts Entertainment. I am a talent manager and producer over there. Been there for 24 and a half years now, actually. So
Wow.
been a long run. There's a bunch of different things I'm working on. I think one of the most exciting things about my job, though, as a manager and a partner over there is I'm very much involved in with clients who I say are businesses within themselves. So they really are kind of hyphenates and doing multiple things at once. So it enables me to really cross into all areas, from music to TV to film to branding and licensing to speaking engagements and appearances, so to the literary side of things. So it's really across the board of all different things I'm working on and excited about right now.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
really awesome. I love to hear reps who are so passionate about what they do. I think we always have the cliche of the rep who is tuned out and hates it. And what's been super inspiring, yeah, I know it's terrible, right? I hate to say that, but what's been really inspiring about these group sessions is just hearing from reps who are so thrilled about what their clients are working on and pushing them and advocating for them and guiding them when they're transitioning to different things. I love hearing that. It's such an important space. Like, reps are so essential, and hearing the passion for it like you have is really cool.
Yeah, thank you. I always say we spend more time at our jobs than we do with our families and friends and kids. So you better enjoy what you're doing. Otherwise you're in the wrong business.
Yeah, that's a great point, sadly. That's really true.
Yeah.
I also, last session, it was kind of a challenge because a few people came in late, and I was had done the math for like who was here and gave people a little too much time, which I tend to do. So I'm going to still keep us a little shorter, assuming a couple people might trickle in. And then if they don't, at the end of the session, I'll open it back up to like second and third questions and a little more discussion, just because some people have had computer issues or work issues or various things, and then they come in at the end, and I've already budgeted more time to other people. So right now, what's awesome is that we don't have a ton of attendees. So theoretically, we can spend a lot more time with you. I'm just going to keep us still pretty tight, and at the end, to like come back to people, and we'll reopen to to more discussion on the same subject or other questions you'd like to ask. So I'll start with you, Sarah. If you want to tell us a bit about either a general career question you have that we could help you with, like thoughts about a roadblock you've hit, or a specific project you'd like some feedback and advice on, we'd love to hear about it.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yes, I definitely do. Basically, I chose this group because I see, well, Mark, you talk to music and TV and movies and everything. And I saw that Cameron, you did Dance Camp, which was a musical. And I wrote a musical screenplay for the entire family with 10 original songs. I've had 3 of the songs fully produced with some sizzle reels. And I want to query and I want to pitch, and I don't really know the best way to now go forward. I've been a finalist in Screencraft Family and BAF and had a bunch of semifinalists, not a bunch, maybe a handful. And I'm like, okay, what's my best avenue? Where do I go next? And are musicals even selling? It's kind of like High School Musical on the beach, Dirty Dancing, only there's surfing and music.
I mean, I'll jump in quick. Look, I think they're still selling. It's all about the words, and it's all about the property itself, right? I mean, one of my clients, Mario Lopez, he's got a movie premiering on Lifetime in a couple days. That's the first musical they've done. So
Wow.
like, totally right. Look, it'll either be brilliant or the last musical that Lifetime ever does. But I think that a lot of people are open to it. I would just say, as a general rule, I actually think we as executives, as representatives, and so forth, are a lot more accessible than many people may think. For me, it's about how you present whatever you're going to bring in. And if it's just, something that's entitled query, that's like equal to delete. It's like, something that will catch your attention, something that's interesting, and then a very quick, concise email of, here's a bullet point from a sizzle I wrote, here's 2 sentences on what's it about, and so forth. And then it's very easy to click on a link. It's very easy to look at visuals. It's very easy to do those things. So I actually think if you can make it a bit, sexier, a bit more appealing to whomever's looking at it, that it kind of jumps out from the hordes of emails we get every day. I think people are a lot more accessible than you might think.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have, I did a rewrite on that movie. I was like doing production polishes. I was just like on set punching up, and they ended up giving me a credit for some reason. But so I don't have like a extensive background in musicals or dance movies or anything like that. But what I've seen work, and this, maybe people would disagree with this, I don't know, is really if you're able to shoot even something short, very short, just a couple minutes, like that shows what the songs could be like, what the vibe could be like. But of course, like, it has to look really good. Like, I don't think people have I don't think you can go out there and be like, no, but it'll be better. It's hard to like imagine like, oh, will it be better though? Like, if you can make something great, it's like terrible advice. It's like, can you just go spend a bunch of money making something great? It's that easy. But if you can, great. If not, like, even the music, I think with a musical, if you can accompany even images with music and the songs are really great, I think that could help. From what I've heard,
done that.
What's that?
I do have that. One of the songs, the female vocalist I hired is a little nasally. I probably need to redo that one, but the other 2 came out, I think, really well with sizzle reels.
Yeah, I think it's kind of similar to when someone like submits a short to film festivals or something. Like you're trying to make something really good that shows your talent as a filmmaker or as whatever you're trying to make. So whatever you can do to show that off, I don't know. This is, yeah. I think musicals, from what I've heard, is like musicals are really a bit hard because people want the like big IP musicals. Like, and I could be wrong in that. I think that the 2 reps here might be able to know better than I do, but that's what I've generally heard. Okay. I think it was like a Script Notes podcast. John August was like, yeah, I took this musical out, and people were like, I don't want it. But but I don't know what that was. So I don't know.
Okay, great, thank you. And I don't know if the other two
Yeah, well, just-
gentlemen, Danny or Hunter, I know Hunter, you work in Disney and Nickelodeon and all that fun stuff.
Oh, I
I mean-
love those brands. Oh, I was just gonna, oh, go ahead, Danny.
Go ahead, because I'm coming from like a TV perspective, which is, yeah.
Oh, well, I was just gonna say, kind of piggybacking off of what Mark said, is that's how I got my first manager 10, 12 years ago, was sending cold emails to people. And I was just like, yeah, hey, I didn't just send with nothing. I had like sketches I had made. I was like, hey, this is this thing. Is it, do you like it? And if they didn't respond, I would never reach back out. But if they did say, haha, funny, then you go, okay, then like maybe in like when I got another thing, can hit them back up. So that I sort of just piggybacking on the idea that the reps, sometimes they feel very scary. Sometimes I'm even intimidated by my reps, and they take 10% of my money. So but it's intimidating because it does feel like they're in this high castle, but everyone's just people trying to like, push the ball up the hill. So anyway, I just piggybacking off of Mark's thing there.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
The only other thing I would say on the TV side is that like, I think like Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, it was like Rachel Bloom started with a lot of those webisodes that she did where she had like the musical shorts that she had on YouTube and whatnot. And that was kind of used as underlying IP to help shop that content. And so I think especially like musically based shows, whatever finished specs or scripts you have are helpful. But I think to Cameron's earlier point, like some sort of like, even if it's a short, giving like some element of the musical bit, or whoever if you have like a musician that you're working with, like we're shopping a project that is like 80s nostalgia, like Debbie Gibson is attached and she was going to do some example content for it. That's kind of how we approach those things in TV.
Okay, great. Thank you all so much. It's very helpful. I appreciate it.
Just because no one else has come in and it's a huge luxury because we've had these really packed guests and panels and we have a moment here. And I know because several of our attendees here were in previous panels and had similar questions. It's something Sarah just tapped into. When writing cold emails, because I know a couple other people here are interested in reaching out to reps specifically, but other kinds of cold emails. Are there things you would advise in terms of like, we had this great advice that Hunter seconded of putting in clips and sizzle reels, but is there other advice in terms of titling the emails or how long they should be, or things you love or hate about cold emails you get? Because that seems to be something that we've been sort of touching on in previous panels, like how to approach reps in ways that are, more congenial and feel a little more in line with what you'd like to hear.
I would just say the more that you can make it seem like it's specific for that rep, as opposed to it feeling like it's going to every manager in your company, every manager in the business, every rep, it's just this, fill in this name, the better. Because we've all seen so many that it's so clear when it's those kinds of letters. If I get a letter that says, I don't know, I'm a huge fan of The Office and Parks and Rec and Hacks and all the shows that 3 Arts does. And, it's that point of view that I've angled for with what I've created. It feels specific to me. It feels like they've done their work. And, I appreciate that. I feel like it kind of stands out, as opposed to saying, just I have the next great, which you'll get all the time, next great half-hour comedy. It's like, I don't know, those are easy deletes in my mind.
Yeah, I agree with Mark. And I think you just have to keep in mind that there's so much stuff coming in via text now, via emails, especially the pandemic really opened the floodgates, and now people are emailing whenever and all weekend, that the inboxes are just sometimes hard to manage. So query letters, like, candidly, I'll look at each one, but I won't necessarily respond to it if I don't feel like it sticks out to me. But I'll give you, from my perspective as a rep, like sometimes it gets really hard to get execs, producers, networks on the phone. And if I'm trying to pitch a new script I'm going out with, or a staffing opportunity that's timely, and I've had a relationship with before, I'll just shoot them an email. And but even in those situations, like with the material, like saying, hey, I'm going out this new project, or hey, I heard you're staffing this, here's the material, but like, it's very pointed. If it feels like it's just like a generic, I copied and pasted to send to 50 people, unless they have a good relationship with that exec, they may not respond or acknowledge or whatever. So it's important to like be targeted about what you're saying. And I would also just say, try to keep it, it's like the elevator pitch. Like it should be read and digested within like 30 seconds, like a quick primer about yourself, any big highlights to really show that you're, you know, what you've been working on yourself and your career. And then like what it is you're trying to sell here that would move the needle for, you know, whether it's a rep or exec you're talking to.
Yeah,
I just wanted to add one thing, and maybe I missed this, but one thing I've noticed that has helped other people is in that very, very short, you know, 2 lines email, 3 line with each very short email. You know, not only is it written well and doesn't littered with typos and stuff, but it, you know, gives like in the shortest amount possible, you know, some little thing about you, like Iranian, like I would mention, like that's a thing. It's like, it's just something about your background, NYU, whatever, like you can, you know, that's 3 letters. If you can just put in something where they go like, oh, I went to NYU, there's a connection point, or like, I'm half Iranian, like whatever, like just something that maybe there's a connection point that you can make in the very, very, very brief email outside of your work, you know, it might just open them up to looking at your work. I don't know. I haven't done, I don't know querying, so I could be dead wrong, but that's just.
No, you're right. I think you're right.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I try to lean on the creative of my clients and their voice and like what they have to say on the page and all that. But when it comes to staffing and like these showrunners are getting like 100 scripts for one spot, you kind of have to lean into like, oh, this person is queer, or this person is someone of color. You kind of have to play that optics game, because that is something reps will notice too.
And they might bring a perspective that's like, oh, that's interesting. Like, you know, I don't know how you guys, you know, make your client lists or anything, but like, if you're like, oh, I don't know that I rep someone from that specific background, I'd be interested in like looking at what they have. Of course, like the work has to speak for itself. But you know, I think it's just always good to sneak in any way in the very short thing, just a little bit about you. Cause I think that's part of this business is like everything I write. It's not like I'm writing all the stories about me, but I am in all of my writing, you know, and I think that is, it's important to just even in that first email show that you can, in a clever, very short way, also include a bit about who you are, whatever the background is.
those are great thoughts. Thank you guys, because that's kind of been a running theme in our last couple of discussions. And those are really useful. I'm going to go to Cecilia next. And I know, Cecilia, you're saying you're having problems with your camera. If we can just hear you audio wise, and I'm so sorry we can't see you, but just hear you audio wise, that would be awesome. If you want to share a little bit about a project you're working on, you'd like a little advice and feedback on, or a bigger career block that we could help with.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay.
Oh,
Yeah.
something worked. Thank you. Okay. I don't know what's going on with the camera. Okay, so I am completely new to everything. So I'm like joining as many things as I can to try to learn. I'm a writer. And I'm trying to turn my novella into a either miniseries or a movie or something. And unfortunately, I've been scammed, you name it, it's happened. So I'm trying to learn. So I'm joining everything that I can to try to get knowledge so that does not happen again. So like I'm looking for like steps to take or like where I should go, like who I should talk to. If that
Are you
makes any
speaking about
sense.
are you speaking about where to go to find reps, where to go to learn your craft better? where to go to sell something? When you say where to go, what do you mean?
Like to go to like find someone to help, like producers and things like that, to help me get my movie either. I mean, I could sell it, yeah, but what fun would that be? But like to get it out there, to find a producer, find directors, find like production companies or stuff like that, anything, like anything at all, any tidbit.
But so are you saying you have a finished script that you have that you're looking for a partner on? Is that what
Okay,
you're
so
saying?
I have a book that's published and I'm currently learning how to script it. So I'm scripting it as I'm going, which not really sure if I'm doing the right thing or not.
Mhm.
But my book is published already. It's it's out there, but like all I've ever heard was it should be a movie, should be a movie. It's not out there. It's not out there. So that's what I'm trying to do, is get it out there, because I think it should be a movie as well. But
Did you
like so
did you have a book agent, or who was published it? Who published it?
I published through Newman Springs in New Jersey. And this was in 2019. So it's been quite a while. But like I said, I've gone through a lot of stuff with the whole process already that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, but I still want to get out there and do it the right way.
I'm not sure what you mean. Obviously we don't know what you're talking about as far as what happened, as far as, your bad experiences. But what I'll just say is, if you wrote a book that's your IP, no one can steal your IP. If you pitch an idea, sure, that could get ripped off.
Right.
But if that's your book and that's your IP, then I would be thinking, how to best utilize that IP. If you don't yet feel like you're in the place to sell the script, that you need more work, that you need more structural help, that you need more writing classes, which is totally fine, then my best suggestion would probably be to just try to sell the IP to someone and be part of the process in some capacity, just so you can kind of learn a little bit.
Right.
As you continue, because if you wait and try to write the script, then number one, you're betting on the fact that you're going to write a script that's going to be good enough, that's going to get all the people on this phone their
Right.
attention, which is not the norm. I mean, usually writers take a long time to get their craft to a place where they'll really get that attention and have it break through. If you've got a book that's already ready and done and you feel like is kind of baked, if you will, then I would rely on that right now to get the process going.
Okay. And what I meant by bad taste in my mouth of things that have happened, like I met with what I thought were production companies, and a lot of money was exchanged, and next thing I knew, building was gone, people were gone, and I got nothing out of it except an empty wallet. And
You
then I went,
you paid money? Money was exchanged,
yes,
meaning you paid them. Yeah.
yeah.
A
And
production company will never ask you for money.
I
Yeah.
know that
Yeah,
now.
okay. Yeah, the hard way. Yeah, but just for everyone, yeah, never will ask you to pay anything.
Yeah,
Agent,
I
manager, producer, studio,
right.
financier never should
This
ask.
yeah, this Newman Springs, like when you did the deal with them, like do you have like rights? Did you freeze all like the scripted feature rights and
Yes,
stuff like that? Okay.
yes.
Honestly, like I would just, my opinion is you could probably, again, going back to Mark's point, is like what your expectations are. If you're saying you want to write this and adapt it yourself, that incline to develop it is going to be a lot steeper. Like you're going to need at least a script that shows you can write in TV or features,
Right.
or you have to spec it. If you are more so like, I want to get my foot in the door, I want to see this movie or TV show see the light of day, then it is finding like a strong producing partner or a strong showrunner who will adapt it. You'll get an
Yeah.
IP rights deal. If you want to be more creatively involved, you find people who support that. Maybe they'll bring in the room as a consultant, or some sort of like deal in the room. You can start building your credits that way.
Right.
My opinion, if you're coming from a place of I don't really have industry access, things like that, you could probably lean more on the query situation. If you're not going to festivals and you're not having direct conversations, like I would be, again, going back to the previous conversation we have, be really judicious about who you're going out to. Go to real producers with credits who you think, be smart, put your producer hat on. Like if this is a commercial, type
Right.
of poppy show, okay, who are those type of people who producers that will want something like this, and be very targeted about, this is the book, this is what the premise is, the world, the characters. I'm the author, I retain the rights. I'm just looking, if you guys are looking for something in the space, and if you have numbers in terms of how well the book did, or some sort of fan base to give generate some sort of numerical element, that helps it too.
Right. Well, I by no means do I want to write this script because, like I said, I was sitting here and trying to do this on my own. And quite frankly, I see why people get paid to do scripting because it is not easy. Yeah, sure,
Well,
write the
yeah.
book, but the scripting, first and foremost, as I said before, I'm completely new to this type of stuff. So writing, no, I got that. I don't like, not to sound, I don't probably sound cocky, but like my writing, my books or whatever, I have tons of them written. I constantly writing. I can't keep up with my mind. And then this particular book that I have, there's nothing out there. So when I was approaching these so I thought were companies, threw my pitch out there, and this company that I had talked to, I thought it was great because they were really close to where I live. I didn't have to travel far, and being new to it, don't know what contracts were supposed to look like, uh, things like that. So I went ahead and had a meeting over the phone, and we talked about things. I didn't give them anything, which I didn't think of until now, like that, not today, but. And then the other part of it was I went to another production company, Voyage Media, and they're just really expensive. Like it's tough, up and coming, and it's really rough. So that's why I'm joining anything that I can get my hands on, like, pay a fee or whatever, listen in, or I very rarely talk because I don't know what I'm talking about. So I usually listen, if that makes any sense at all, besides just blabbering.
Yeah.
I think as you, oh, sorry, Hunter, go ahead, please.
No, I was just going to ask, like, is there anybody in your orbit or your network that is in this world, the creative world, writers, producers, because that's what I would suggest is trying to find somebody who is an up and coming writer who is eager to adapt material and outside of the production company, and I mean, this is just my suggestion, I don't really know, but like partnering with them early on and being like, all right, this is my IP, and this is you're going to write the script because they're a young writer who's hungry, who's not trying to take advantage of you, like that's and if that's not somebody who's in your network, I think finding those people by going to film festivals, taking screenwriting courses and classes, whether they're online or in person, and just trying to find people who are eager and hungry like you are, but in their respective field of like, I want to be a screenwriter. I haven't had anything produced yet, but I'm really hungry.
Right.
Well, great. I got this piece of IP. Well, we aligned because the IP is, you're that person is the right person to adapt the IP because maybe you guys align, as far as what the subject matter is, and then, start a collaboration with them, and maybe, yeah. So that's my 2 cents. If there's somebody within your network or finding that person,
Okay.
I don't know, that maybe the managers have something to say about that approach, but that's just where my head would be. Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. That's certainly a way to get something off the off the rails and start to get it going. And I would just say, as a rule of thumb, number one, like it was said, you should never be paying anyone anything to get your stuff going ever. But and which now. But secondly, look at IMDb, look at Studio System, do your homework as to who are these people you're going after, and make sure that these are people who are respected and who are professionals. And sometimes when you do that research too, you're going to come up with ideas. If this is, I don't know, in the vein of name that movie, I don't know what it is. Look up the production company who did that movie. you know, ask them if this is something that might be interested in. If there's a movie you're a fan of or TV show you're a fan of, look up on IMDb, who are the people involved with that? I know you're a fan of this kind of movie. Here's something I think you might respond to. You know, doing your homework in that regard, I think will really help.
Okay. I appreciate you guys so much.
Sure.
And I do apologize for being so naive and not knowing, but you know, that's why
Nothing
I'm
to
here.
apologize about. I mean, please, you got to start
Feel
somewhere.
as if I'm, you know, I don't want to waste anyone's time, but at the same time, you know, I'm here to try to learn and try to find a network, I guess, like, because I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
You know what
So
I
see,
mean?
my very first job, my first job out of college was with a TV legend, Brandon Tartikoff. And I remember week one in my job, I just went into a meeting totally unprepared, and I thought I was going to get fired after the first week of my job. And I remember Brandon said to me after that meeting, when I was like a deer in headlights, he said, "Mark, I'm never going to get pissed at you for screwing something up once. I'm going to get pissed at you when you don't learn from what you screwed up." So I think it's a great lesson in general. It's just, we all make those mistakes. Just learn from them so you don't do them again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's great advice. It's a great story, Mark. I think whenever we're struggling with something, it always feels like we're so alone, like we're the only person who's ever experienced this, and it's so hard and embarrassing. And it's a great story about how we all kind of start with something, and we have to start from there and,
Yep.
and move on. That's actually pretty universal. We've just had someone join us a bit later. Jen, it's great to see you. I kind of do like a little bit of bad math in my head about how much time we have for each person. So I want to make sure now that we have another person, and then everyone gets a chance to talk a little bit about their project or a kind of career conundrum or roadblock that we could use help with. And I'm going to jump in with Matthew, who was in a previous session and had shared a lot of cool stuff about how he has a pretty extensive background in VFX with a production company that's won a lot of awards, and he's worked on a lot of big things. Now he's kind of moving more into being a storyteller and a creator himself, and is kind of was looking for advice on that career kind of change. That was one thing he threw out, and he got a few gems, but maybe someone else has something more to add. And maybe you have another question you also want to throw out, Matthew. I'm not trying to usurp you. I just wanted to
No. I appreciate you keeping me more brief, because I don't want to take up anybody's time. No, that encompasses it pretty well. So I have the ability to make shorts and proof of concepts, and they're at pretty decent production value. As mentioned, I have a background in visual effects. I have a visual effects studio for a number of years. I have always been writing and directing, but my focus had been on keeping my company afloat. And then I had been attached to a number of projects. But the reality is I had representation prior, and it was many years ago, but it was focused a little bit on, it was a split between writing, directing, and VFX. But I'm looking to just really meet new reps. The big thing is I write I write everything from features to shorts that hopefully will propel a series or something else. But I just wanted to hear the opinions of not only the managers, but the writers as well, just how your story regarding, because I'm not just starting out. I've actually had an extensive career with every studio in town and every production, and watched the ebb and flow and beginnings and endings of many people's careers. So I just wanted to hear some just advice on somebody at my position getting in, not late in the game, but sort of retooling everything. Because one thing is, when you are known for a thing, there's a tendency for you to say, "Oh yeah, you're the effects guy," and it's like, yeah, but I also have directed these films, and I've also done this stuff. But and I understand that when you're known for something too, that is a great calling card. But just trying to break out of that. So, and any advice, I'm very more than welcoming.
Right. I feel like I always jump in first. I'm sorry if I'm blocking. But first of all, I think that's super cool what your experience is. I would just say, probably my immediate response is, if you've got the experience that you clearly do have, in a time when people are trying to make TV and film look and feel different, you probably have a huge edge over a lot of people in that regard in sort of your creative process. Figuring out probably how to make money, or excuse me, do a production on a lesser budget, I would assume, or figure out creative approaches to something that others are not thinking about. So to me, that's a humongous asset. We're all trying to figure out how to make something look and feel just different, set aside from the sea of television and films and TV and movies that are out there. So I think to me, that's a huge asset. What I would probably do is figure out what's your calling card look like? If you have one or two projects or a reel that you put together that says, here's who I am, I certainly think that's something that a lot of reps on the lit side would be very interested in taking a look at.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. I do have my website has all my reels, and I have a short film that just played for the last couple of years in festivals. And it's just, ironically, even though I've had so much experience, the people I worked with were primarily production or studio executives who weren't on the development side. And then a lot of my friends are actors whose reps don't represent writer directors, or they're below the line folks like DPs or editors who also don't represent writers or directors. So there's always this weird chasm I'm sort of straddling. I mean, I do appreciate that is my forte, is being able to take something that costs nothing and make it look huge. I've done it on low budget films that I directed, and it's just, it's just breaking through and getting that thing out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. My perspective on the literary side, a lot of where you're coming from, and to Mark's point, like, you've already had a lot of extensive experiencing with the VFX part and like managing those on a smaller budget. That, like, if you're talking about you're wanting to position yourself more as a director or even just a creator, storyteller, it's just getting more visibility out there. And I think it's, if you're doing these shorts and you're getting into festivals, there's a lot of boots on the ground from the scripted literary side, both managers and agents who are going to these events, seeing these like shorts to full feature length, and signing people that they're excited about. I don't see as many like short films that get shopped as TV shows, but like, again, if there's an underlying narrative to a short form concept, whether it's short stories or subreddit stories or things like that, like those can be used to like shop in television. So if you have like a calling card that is a short that like just tells an amazing narrative, I guess the same way like District 13 like started as a short film that they expanded into a feature. Those are the kind of things that reps producers will gravitate towards. So I think, it's two things. It's like putting out like your best one or two projects that showcases your POV, how you can tell a story in a tight window, tight budget. Like that'll get people's interest in like, okay, maybe we can like discuss development with him. But also like, is there like a strong underlying narrative to a short that could be expanded, whether it's a 3-act structure or it's something unscripted. But I would say for you, it's really just visibility. If you don't have those connections right now, you're like, there's so many reps, especially on the manager side, where even if you're placing at a quarterfinalist, semifinalist level, and those are being placed, like people will come out of the woodwork if they see like a strong POV to what you're doing, and they'll want to meet you. So I think it's really just if your content is where it needs to be, it's like keep submitting it and getting it out there, and like getting placed and like meeting with folks there, and getting visible there.
You have a thing. Oh, sorry, Hunter.
No, I was just going to say, I remember specific examples. God, probably eight or 10 years ago, I got sent this short from a filmmaker. It must have been 2 minutes, literally. It was like a commercial, but it was just so cool and captivating. And I remember seeing it, going, "This guy's just got an incredibly cool eye, and the way he's approaching things was just very different, very interesting." And I shared it with my colleagues, and then one of my colleagues ended up signing him, and he has, been constantly working in TV and film since. So I do think I agree with that. It's just, if you can show people rather than tell them, here's what I bring, here's my point of view, here's my angle, I do think people will take note.
Yeah,
the right people.
And I also think you have like a little bit of a superpower with the visual effects background. Like if you could build something that is really strong narrative and shows your, you know, ability to tell a story, and then also include that this is this thing that you have, that's this ability that a lot of other filmmakers, you know, like if I had to go do some visual effects, I don't even know what I would do. I might actually reach out to you now, Matt. But you know, so I think that like if there's something that partners that, maybe that's not what you're trying to do creatively, but I do think that is a bit of a ace in the hole for you. So
No, I
that
appreciate
would be
that,
my
yeah.
2 cents, is like bringing like your narrative storytelling background with that in and being like, this is this special thing I can do.
I appreciate that. That's
Do
great.
you have a sense, it's kind of hard to look at ourselves sometimes and say, oh, this is what kind of filmmaker or storyteller I am, but do you have a sense of what you would say your strengths and weaknesses are as a filmmaker?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I've directed 2 features. I've had the ability to do a lot of projects. I'm not going to give you a long like sob story. I made 2 films and that were great. We submitted to festivals, they played great. And then the producer decided, I think it was better for a tax write-off for his investors, and he never finished them. And which is terrifying because I did them a number of years ago. Everything you guys are saying is terrific and it's good information. The thing I'm trying to do is just literally leap over that bit of just trying to get somebody to look at my stuff. My website's very, very encompassed. It goes through all of my narrative work, shorts, commercials, as well as the features. I have the trailers of the features have been up online for a million years. Hopefully someday they'll get them finished. And then of course my visual effects reel, which was pretty extensive. All the films everybody here has seen at some point.
Drop a link, man. I'll check it out. Not that just drop a link in the chat. I'll look at their shit.
Okay, let me see if I can figure out how to do the chat on an iPad. Oh, there it is.
I mean, I don't know if that's like, I mean, I'm curious.
No, you know what, if anything, the visual effects reel is pretty great and it's fun. We worked, I primarily worked with Martin Scorsese for about 9 years, and my partner, Ian,
I've heard of him.
Chris Nolan. Yeah. So we worked on a lot of, I mean, we won Academy Award and BAFTAs and some other stuff, but interestingly enough, the stuff I did was very much on the production side. And even though I was always directing and shorts, commercials, and even a couple features, again, you're sort of put in a box like, oh yeah, that's the effects guy. So that was always a little bit of a thing.
Yeah,
but again,
I don't know that I mean, I agree to an extent. I don't want to be like a jerk on here or anything, but I feel like if you're making good films, you know, I'm not an agent or manager, but I'd be like, yo, I'm going to sign this dude that can direct good stuff. Like,
no, I was attached to a couple $100 million films and the financing dropped out. So I'm kind of starting a lot of stuff over again because, I agree. It's
my only question. The reason I asked about if there's a strength or weakness, clearly your strength is visual effects. You've been doing it for a very long time, as you've said. But I sometimes I see really beautiful films with amazing effects.
Agreed. No,
there's
of course.
Like not great acting, or I'm not saying this is you, or not great writing. There's something that limits that thing, and so.
Oh no, agreed. No, I focus a lot on action and comedy, and it's actually not the short I made that ran the festival a couple of years was a pirate themed action comedy that was sort of a social commentary that been in a ton of festivals, and it was great. And I wanted to pitch it as a series, and then like as we were in post finishing, it was announced that Taika Waititi was doing Our Flag Means Death, and the similarities are so ridiculous it's not even funny. But that is the way the business works. It is kind of insane. But it's all good. All good. But yes, no, I agree with you though 100%, because what happens is most visual effects people, or it's like you get these beautiful television commercials or feature reels that look amazing, but there's no story, there's no character development. And without any of that, to be honest, effects, production design, stunt work, all that stuff is in support of a story. None of that stuff nobody cares about. In fact, most of the stuff I gravitate toward are not effects type films, because I started as an actor when I was very young, and so I worked a lot as an actor, director in theater. So to me, that's always been a focus. But yeah, anyway, I don't want to take anybody else's time. So I appreciate your.
Thank you, Matthew. See if you can share the link in the.
I'm trying to find on my little iPad the chat. Oh, it's a checkerboard. Oh, look at that. That's interesting.
And then, unfortunately, as I've mentioned, it's so hard to budget right for time on these things. And I didn't budget for Jen because I didn't know she was coming. So I'm going to have to keep really tight on these last couple folks with us. And I apologies to them. Eric has had the good fortune of both going first in one of our sessions and getting a lot of time and then going last. So now he's kind of in between. And I'm sorry, Eric. And I'll be sorry to you, Jen. If you want to share maybe a question, you asked some really fascinating and really helpful, I think, for everyone, questions about getting staffed as a writer's assistant, or if you have some other questions to ask about your specific projects, which sounded really interesting. And then I'll have to be super rude and cut you off and get Jen in there before we get to the hour.
You're
Muted.
Muted.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks everyone for this opportunity. So if I'm just cutting it down, I'm merging writer-director with over 31 screenwriting and shorts awards to my credit. Right now I'm working on Kakowin, which is a contained psychological mumblecore feature where multiracial, two-spirit, indigenous, queer, millennial struggles to find his identity and survive while trapped on a deserted island in the Pacific Northwest with his sexist, racist, homophobic, and estranged uncle and the evil spirit beasts that haunt it. And so I'm working on that, and I've written two pilots, two TV pilots. The first one is Cabbagetown Confidential, which is a 1-hour crime drama television series about a terminally ill private investigator who attempts to amend his misdeeds while keeping his niece, his aspiring partner, from uncovering his dark past. And the second one is Dr. Dose, which won Big Apple's TV Drama Award. It is a 1-hour teen drama series. It is about a socially awkward neurodivergent teen with heightened observational skills and a gender transitioning hacker who team up at their elite private school to diagnose and treat the mental health issues of their fellow student body. I'm passionate about creating dramas with a genre edge that delve into the deep and dark issues in relationships and identities such as addiction, gender, sexuality, mental health, and the meaning of legacy. On these and the other ones, people have been commended for taking their shot. So I'm just going to kind of go for it. And I'm wondering if, for the people in this panel, if there's anyone in your office, a junior assistant who would be willing to read my work, I'd really appreciate that.
It's end of the year. I mean, like, we just have to, I need more details, I think, about your background and whatnot. I mean, if you want to send a query letter, you can send it my way and I can discuss internally. Yeah, it just would just be a matter of like where we are in the year and like what we're looking to bring on for the new year. So if you want to shoot me an email, please send it over.
Yeah, I would say the same, but and all of the scripts are amazing and the words are amazing. My advice to you is pick your favorite, pick your one piece of material that you said, if I had one thing to sell myself, one crack, what would it be? That's what I would hang that query on. If I get an email, not in your scenario, but in general with 3, 4, 5 scripts, like that'll never get read. If it's one piece of material with one idea and it sounds exciting, then someone will eventually get around to it.
Great, thank you so much.
That's awesome. Thank you, Eric. Thank you for being so brief with us, because we do want to get here to Jen. At least you have a chance to talk a bit about a project we could give you advice on, or a career roadblock or question we could help with.
That would be wonderful. I truly appreciate it. So yeah, my name is Jen, and a little bit about me and what my main project is right now and my main focus. I personally am in recovery from alcoholism, addiction, and a weird period of time when I only listened to dubstep. I lived a lot of my life in victimhood, though, just blaming everyone else for my pain. And so I've worked really hard personally to rewrite my view of life and my place in it, so I can stop reliving the same scenes over and over again. And the reason I give this background is that's a lot of my focus in the stories that I write, and how I got the idea for my feature script End of Scene. The log line is that, let's see, when a burnt out housewife suddenly awakens from a mysterious trance, she teams up with a peculiar child to fight the unseen forces in her house that keep her hair long, her heels high, and her husband totally unaware of her existence. So this mysterious house resets every time she tries to make a change. The mysterious house is a physical representation of the subconscious mind and the journey that we all go through, challenges that we face when we're working through and rewriting patterns and narratives and limiting beliefs. So it can be complex and heady, but I've taken this topic and tried to present it in a digestible, intriguing way. And the genres mix a mix of drama and fantasy, since I'm taking something unseen, the subconscious, and presenting it physically. So as for like why this story and why now, there's so much hypersensitivity and finger pointing out in the world, I think, rather than taking responsibility for ourselves and what we can do. So it's a story I know in my toes needs to be told. I've been submitting it to a lot of contests and festivals. And I guess I want to know kind of what's next. Like I won at this festival, which is so exciting. I've been a finalist, quarterfinalist, etc. At what point do I have enough to reach out to an agent or a manager or a production company? That's where I'm at now in my career, where I'm like, I want what's next. How do I get to there?
I would say, first of all, thank you for sharing what's going on with you personally. I think it's amazing that you're dealing with it the way you're dealing with it. But is the script then, and forgive my ignorance if I miss it, is it really representative of your own personal battles? You are also, it's just sort of being written in a different way? Because I'll tell you where I was intrigued.
Sure.
I thought you were going to a place where the script, and the reason you were sharing in the beginning, was representative in some regard of the battles that you've been facing and continue to face.
Absolutely. Yeah, it does have that. There's no specific references to anything like drugs or alcoholism, but things like body dysmorphia and this societal programming around how our bodies should look a certain way and gender roles and that sort of thing. That's all touched on in this script between the wife and the husband. And so while the story starts with them both being in their very like programmed, almost robotic style of living, one of them starts to awaken and realize like, wait, what the hell? Like, how did I get here? Why am I wearing 1950s clothes? This doesn't make sense. And so she slowly starts to make changes, but the house fights back in order to essentially keep her stuck. And so that is a commentary on, it could be addiction, it could be disordered eating, or any sort of character default or defective thinking that we have. It takes a lot of that conscious effort in order to shift our programming, rewrite our programming. And one of the fun scenes, I think, is when she's really awakening and getting out of her normal routine, and her husband sits down to eat, but there's no food in front of him. And he still is just going through the actual patterns of like the movement of eating and hitting himself in the face with nothing. He's got no food. And so it's also her looking at taking care of herself and her journey rather than trying to take care of this other human. And yes, so all of that's a whole lot of words. I get super pumped talking about this. I'm nerding out with, this is the first time I'm really nerding out with other filmmakers. But yes, to your question originally.
Keep it focused, keep it condensed. What you're saying now is more intriguing than in the beginning.
Great.
Not from your personal story, from the creative. I think
sure.
If the presentation of something is, here's what my personal experience, and here's what I've gone through, and now I've written a script that I believe is representative of the experience I've gone through, and now is showing itself in this way. That to me is a hell of a lot more interesting, because then you're speaking from personal experience.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And this is a feature script, right?
Yes.
What's like a comp you would give? Is it like horror facing, or is it more Eternal Sunshine?
I would, Eternal Sunshine's my jam. So yeah, it's more along that line. There's a little bit of dark comedy in there, and it's touching on some tough topics, but overall it's going to be drama, and I would say fantasy, because that's what Eternal Sunshine calls itself to. So I Googled it.
Yeah, I would lean into those comps because when you're approaching producers or even agents, it's like, okay, they want to know the marketability and like what
Yeah,
type of budget they're looking at here. So thinking about like, especially if you don't have a quite yet a rep and you're going directly at producers, like just talking about like what type of movie you're envisioning here, so that they have a sense of like what financing would look like, and also gives you a sense of what the producer. I think we talked about it earlier, like which producers are actually making these types of films. So
okay.
That was awesome, everybody. I'm even supposed to end this before the hour, but it's so hard to end this because it's just so involving. Everyone has been so wonderful and grounded and honest and felt really real and sharing everything they're working on and their experience in the industry as a panelist. I can't thank you enough. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thanks for,
Thank you
thanks
so
for having
much.
us.
Thank y'all.
Good
thanks for
luck.
taking time.
Yeah,
you.
thank you so much. We appreciate it.